Do you want to do the intro?
I mean, no, I want to do the intro at some point, but we'll know when it's my time to do the intro.
Okay, just one day you'll just do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Well, this
You'll
is our
know,
space. Oh,
yeah,
go on.
you'll know exactly when. Everyone will know
Okay,
exactly when it's happening.
I'll be aghast. But this is basically intro enough, isn't it? So classic.
It's as good an
Welcome
intro as we
back.
ever do.
Yeah, this is what you're getting. Deal with it. So welcome back to Just Not Crick Pod. We're back. Hooray. Um, hello, Jamie.
Hello.
You can't see us this week because Jamie's camera, as you probably would have seen if you watched our last video, is broken. So here we are, back again, and this time to talk about actual cricket and not fictional cricket. I bet you're absolutely thrilled.
I mean, depending on the fictional cricket,
So you
that
want to watch more Sooty?
I'm not against it. I'd
Okay.
rather watch another Sooty Crick episode than more of the Doctor Who stuff.
Okay, well, it's just your lucky day. So we're actually going to watch all of that serial episode of Doctor Who.
Right.
But no, we are here to talk about some cricket times because cricket has been happening. A lot of cricket has been happening actually. Um, but we mostly, I think, going to be reviewing the England New Zealand Test match because they're back playing each other again. It feels like England New Zealand are always playing each other. Oh, here we go. Do you enjoy a good England New Zealand Test series or just international series?
I enjoy any England series at the minute, to be honest.
That's a good point. Yeah.
I would prefer it when they're not starting at like 12:30 at night
Yeah.
or like 3 in the morning, so I
This,
can watch stuff.
yeah.
But
Th- This is the tricky thing because, like, again, this is a great test, and we'll go into reasons as to why. But it's cool, also kind of nice because in previous years, even like last year, I think when we first started, I talked about this that whenever it's a winter tour, it's always like if you wake up in the middle of the night for a reason, if it's like an Ashes or something, it always crossed my head being like, oh, it's happening now.
Mhm.
Should I check it in the hope that something miraculous is happening? And you check it and it's like, oh, England are all out for 82. It's like, oh, now I've got to go back to sleep with this burden, with this knowledge. Um, but when this happens, it's like, oh yeah, England is just smashing it. Um, but yeah, I know what you mean. Like the only chance I get to see it is getting up at like 7 and watching like an hour and a half, and it's always the kind of end of the day vibe where it's just sort of like, and apart from yesterday, which we'll get into, but it always feels like shutting up shop a bit for the day, so you don't see too much, but just the kind of bookend. So it's a bit of a shame, but I'm not going to stay up. Let's talk about quickly in summary. Here are your scores. So England batted first. They got 325 for nine declared, which is interesting, which we can talk about. New Zealand then 306 all out after a century from Tom Blundell. England then posted 374 and then bowled New Zealand out for 126. Quite comprehensive. This in terms of Bazball stats. England now have played 11, won 10, lost just one. I think I told you that it's the best since the Strauss era, that was a lot of people speak about as the best era for English cricket. So that's quite a high achievement. Um, it's the first Test win in New Zealand for 15 years. Again, this kind of England team making away wins in difficult places like, Pakistan and New Zealand suddenly make it look easy. Harry Book was player of the match. He's just bobbing along, averaging 77 in his 8 innings so far, 620 odd runs. And Stokes got the most Test sixes record, 109, which he overtakes Brendan McCullum. So those are the few kind of stats to go over the game. What were your initial thoughts of the Test match?
I mean, when Bazball first started, my thought was always, this is amazing, but the real test is when we come with the series away from home.
Hmm.
And we like just took to it at Pakistan and we seem to just keep going in New Zealand. Like it doesn't seem to matter where we play at the minute. The mentality and the tactics are just so ingrained in the players that they just go out and bazball it. Like
Yeah, fundamentally.
yeah, I mean it's just vibes. It's not
Yeah.
obviously it's not just vibes, but the mentality and the vibes
Uh-huh.
like offers so much into like the way England play bat
Yeah.
and ball. It's like it might be the best in terms of like objectively good cricket. But I think since Strauss, like I think this is better to watch, more entertaining.
Yeah.
It might
I
even be a
think,
better
yeah.
team overall, which is
Yeah.
bonkers to say. But I'd
Just,
put money
yeah.
on this team beating the Strauss team.
Probably, yeah. I mean, I think they'd probably beat anyone, to be honest, at the moment. I mean, the biggest test, which we talk about a little bit, is the would be in India. But the way they play is just it's just confidence, isn't it? Like there is no it's easy to say there's no fear of losing when they're not losing. But coming into that, they obviously, I mean, they had a plan in this first day, being a day-night test, that they were going to bat until the lights came on and then declare and then bowl for that period, which was going to be the best time for kind of Anderson, Broad, Robinson to bowl. So they declared on 325, which you wouldn't say is that doesn't really stand out as like, oh, that's a big first innings score to set up a game. But it was just a confidence to be like, we've got those runs quickly, and now we're going to utilize the conditions which are best to bowl in. Um, England teams in the past would have just ground out, let's bat for a couple of days and hopefully we'll get them under lights day two. But this is like, no, we've got this momentum, we've got these runs quickly, let's stick them in, which is like, it raised many an eyebrow when he declared, but I think go for it. Like, why not?
Like, what much are you losing on declaring at 9 anyway? You're going to have
Well,
Jimmy
yeah,
coming in and like getting another
yeah,
5 runs maybe.
yeah. I think it's the
And
fact, that they batted so quick. They only batted 58 overs in that time, going at 5.5 and over. So I guess the flip side would have been, well, if you bat more traditionally, you'd be looking to try and bat the day for 400 or whatever. But why? Like, I don't understand this argument. Like, why should Harry Brook, for example, be leaving a ball when he can hit it for six? Like you need to move away from the traditions of the game. Say you must do this. No, why would I take no runs when I can get 6 runs? What's the point? Like it's just the game is evolving and moving on. And I think that's it's going quite rapidly. And I think some people in the old traditional camp being like, this is going far too quickly for our liking. Because if you look, the West Indies tour last year was a boring dross of a series, which was horrendous to watch. And then you're suddenly watching this not even 12 months later, which is complete balmy opposite. Um, but there will be times when it's going to be difficult and they're not going to be able to whack it out of the ground, and that's just the beauty of Test match cricket. But whilst they can do it, why shouldn't they do it? Why not only bat 58 overs, get the score that you need, and then declare because it worked?
I mean, it's a really good tool to like put the mentality and the impetus in your favor. The opposition aren't going to expect you to declare after 58 overs. They're going to feel rushed, A, by the amount of runs you've been scoring and at the rate you've been scoring them. And then they'll feel rushed by like not expecting to be batting after such a short amount of time. And like you're setting your own pace to the game instead of being reactive to it, which England have been in the past way too much. But now
Mhm.
by doing this, they're stating we're in control of this game and we know where it's going to go and we're going to force it and drive it in that direction. Whereas New
Mhm.
Zealand have to adjust quickly, get their mindset right, and be
Yeah,
like, all right, but we've got to chase this down and put in a competitive score, which they did, to be fair, but
yeah,
they
yeah.
still have to have that initial switching of mindset and it's going to fuck with you, even if you are ready for it.
100%. Yeah, like Root trying to reverse scoop over slips and stuff on day one of the Test match is something that's not going to be, you know, expected. And I see a lot of chat about this. I guess I don't think we'll go over it too much, but a few murmurings of being like, oh, the way England play doesn't suit Joe Root's game, and this isn't good for Joe Root. But it's like England are winning. Root wouldn't give a monkey's like if he's getting 14 or 140 as long as the team are winning. That's fundamentally the kind of player he is. And Stokes is the same. He's not got the same amount of runs he did expect. But when it comes to a big game situation where you need someone to get a score, one of those two are probably going to stand up and then lead from the front. Um, People being worried about Root not being in form is just absolute nonsense. Like
I mean,
you've got people getting runs either side. Not everyone's going to get runs at the same time.
like he's still averaging around 40 or in the 40s
High
anyway.
40s, he's pretty much 49. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
like where it might be like boosted by big not out scores, but it's still a fucking average of high 40s. Like, and
Yeah,
it's Root.
2021, he had the
Like,
mental year. He scored runs for fun. He's had 2 years or so of just carrying the team on his back. Like, I don't care about him getting out for a reverse scoop. He's enjoying the game. I think he's kind of earned that.
and it that is playing into the Bazballness
Yeah,
of
yeah,
it. And I think he's the kind of person that enjoys that. It suits his personality.
yeah.
I don't know. I can't imagine someone sitting there looking at Joe Root playing a reverse coup, being like, "No, that's not right." That it's so outlandish. It's
Yeah,
perfect.
it's ridiculous.
I'd
And I
rather
don't,
Root be playing
yeah,
these shots than a perfect cover drive to get to 150 with England
yeah.
180 for 10 or like, you know.
Off like 80 overs. Yeah, I get it. But yeah, yeah. And I think Stokes as well is a very different argument. Like, again, I don't think he's got the runs that he probably would have wanted to, but, he's leading incredibly by example as a captain. And some of his captaincy decisions have been fantastic. Like, I think, including declaration. So I think that is bin talk garbage. Who cares? Um, we've then got, so New Zealand have their innings. And then we're back to the Bazball bowlers. Um, and apart from Tom Blundell getting 138, I think, New Zealand would have struggled to get anywhere close to 300, to be honest. Anderson got three for, Robinson got four, Broady got one. Just, all round kind of what you expect. And, they got I think it was two or three crucial wickets on that evening when they declared. So you'd say that the declaration was earned. Um, but Robinson just going strength to strength. I think I mentioned before when we predicted our Ashes 11s that I think he just has to be in your best team. I don't think you can leave out Robinson. Um, do you reckon? I think we might have spoken. Is this the attack that they'll start the Ashes in? Because everything is about the Ashes.
Oh, it's I think this is probably going to be the four they
Yeah,
start with,
yeah,
but I
I think so.
wouldn't put it past them to just make a slight tweak that no one sees coming. Like they'll just go like, "Rian, come in, mate," or
Yeah,
they'll be
yeah,
happy
because
with like
yeah,
Jofra's fitness and just chuck him in just to surprise Australia in the same way like the declaration did New
yeah,
Zealand, just to keep the other team on their toes. And
yeah, for sure.
yeah,
Because yeah, I mean, yeah, Leach didn't have a good game. He did go around the park a bit, but I mean, it feels harsh to say that he went at fours when most New Zealand bowlers went at like sixes and sevens. But he only got a couple of wickets, mostly due to batter error, rather than getting them out, I would say. Um, you look at Leach, he's kind of averaging about 35 for the ball now. That average is going up; it's not going down. I know it's not really a spinner's wicket, but I feel like he needs a good game to really kind of get his confidence back up because he's got completely 100% the confidence of Stokes and McCullum and everyone. But I just feel like from a player perspective, it's similar to Crawley in a sense. You want to perform. You don't want to be in just be like I've got good faith with the captain and coach and stuff because you're going to be aware that you're not getting fifers, you're not getting hundreds. You want to be performing, and the setup will be backing them to do that. But you just think like you need a good game, and I think Leach is very kind of overdue one now.
I mean, I always feel like whenever we say this as well, he does go on to have a stormer the
Yeah,
next
fingers
game.
crossed. Yeah,
But it
yeah,
also feels like very important because Leach is such an integral person into that in that dressing room. Like people will
yeah,
play for Leach
yeah,
as they would anyone else,
yeah,
especially when he's not performing
for sure.
in the same way say Stokes isn't to his high standards.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
exactly. Yeah,
he's the sort of player the other players need in that dressing room to be like,
hmm,
we're doing this as much for him as I am for myself.
yeah,
And it just builds on that camaraderie, which I don't think
definitely.
we've actually spoken about too much. We're just focused on the like the basketballness
The
of it all.
vibes. Yeah, But
But I
they are a
think,
very together unit,
yeah,
100%.
exactly. And I think that really like pushes home how well they're playing in and
Yeah.
of itself. Like they might not be individually the best players
Hmm.
ever. Like there's no chance Crawley and Duckett are the best opening partnership
Oh,
we've
absolutely.
had
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
like the last 20 years.
Yeah.
But it
But
just
yeah,
all like
they get
melds
the best
together.
out of these players, what they can
Exactly.
get. Yeah. Yeah. No, I'd agree. It's yeah, I don't think Leeds is being dropped anytime soon. Yeah, I think this is the vibes. I think it was similar. I think we said that first test in Pakistan when it went close. I remember that it went up to DRS and you had all the team together, but then Stoke stood away just so when it went to out, they could all have that moment and then he would go in afterwards. It was just like it's. I think Stokes is a great captain. Like all this chat last year being like, oh, he's be a Flintoff or both of them and stuff. Like, no, he's Stoke. You can't relate him to other all rounders. I think he's just been absolutely such a breath of fresh air as a captain. But we'll come back. I think we spoke about that a lot, so we'll carry on. Um, England batted again, and they started well. Crawley got 28, Duckett 25. They put on 50 for the first wicket in good time. Crawley looked good as he normally does, but then got out, caught behind, which is kind of classic Crawley. Again, a bit like Leach will want to have some runs under the belt. I don't think he's getting dropped though. But yeah, standouts. Root, who's apparently out of form, got 57. um, Brook got 54 again. I think he's at Wagner went for like 8 or 9 for the majority of his innings. He just kept trying to bowl short stuff and they just kept hitting him out the ground. It was nonsense. Um, Folks got 50, which is good for him. He came in at 6 because Stokes was on the loo. Uh, Stokes got his 30, where he got his 6 to overtake McCullum as the leading Test cricketer in terms of sixes. And then Robbo got 39 at the end, getting 374, going at fives again. It's like I run out of superlatives to say because it did just basballed it. But I guess out of those, Brooke obviously great, good for Root, but probably out of those, best for Ben Folks, I would say, to get a little 50 there at the end.
Yeah, it'll probably do his confidence the world of good, and especially when the time comes for Bairstow to come back in the
Mm-hmm.
team, it gives like McCullum, Stokes, selectors, Rob Key
Yeah.
a bit more of a headache of what to do.
Yeah.
Not that it's going to be more of a headache than it is at the minute.
Yeah.
The fuck do you do? But especially with Pope getting 49 as well, like
Yeah. He's looking more and more consistent, Pope. I'm getting more and more
exactly.
impressed. I remember this time last year when he's picked and they're going to say he's batter free. I was sort of, what on earth are you doing? But the more he bats, the more he's getting confidence, the more he's getting backing. I'm like, yeah, he's probably going to be good and he's probably going to be the next captain.
And it just like adds to that mold of the team again. Like you
Yeah.
know where you're batting all the time, as opposed to past England sides with
Yeah.
say Moeen Ali, who was
Yeah.
a high order batter at county level, and then he's like coming in at eight, being an all rounder or a main spinner. But
Yeah.
now, like even Pope, like I'm sure he was up and down the order a bit,
Yeah.
but now he's been told, "You're three. This is your job. You do this. Bazball, Bazball, Bazball."
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's again just backing. I mean, the one elephant in the room not mentioned here is that Stuart Broad came in the four as the NightHawk. Um,
It, I will say that I think Wagner out Nighthawked him.
he did all the talk about it, and then that first ball the next morning just like completely like gloved up. It was like you just knew it was going to happen. And that first ball as well, where he just skied up in the air. It's like he's not going to do anything here, but he's a friend of the podcast. Um, we got our little cheeky reply from Stuart Broad when I asked for clarification about what the Nighthawk would be come the start of the next day. And he said to just refer to him as the Hawk when it's an afternoon game, but otherwise would be morning Hawk. But you said should be Hawk at noon,
I
which
think
I
it's
quite like.
ridiculous. It's either that it's not either noon hawk or hawk at high noon.
Yeah, that sounds like a great YA like title for a book. It's
It's a very like abstract Western
yeah, I love it. It's great.
thing.
But yeah, there's a lot of but it kind of just again, it's so silly and so stupid. But at the same time, it just I think as he said, it just reiterates the kind of fun that the team are having.
Yeah.
Um and that the fans get completely involved in that. Like everyone loved. talking about the Nighthawk because it was just so silly and it's just so lame, but it's great. Like it's just so from having a dreary England team for the last few years before this into just talking about Stuart Broad trying to come in and whack it as a Nighthawk is just it's just refreshing. It's good. It's fun. Um, but he got out for seven. I think the second lowest strike rate of that innings. Um, but then it meant England came back into bowl, dismissed New Zealand 126. The two maybe we'll talk about here are Anderson and Broad, starting with Broad, who got 4 for 21 in that evening session, again under lights, having one of those kind of broad spells, and restricting New Zealand 28 for 5 at the end of day three. They're not coming back from that. But it was just great because it was just like bold, 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 bold. And there's not, you can say whatever you want, but seeing, stumps go out the ground is the best way to watch wickets. Like just seeing bolds time and time again, what looked like the same balls. And again, decent players, Latham, Conway, Williamson, Blundell, who got the 100. It was just like basically on repeat. And that's what you love to watch with Broad. I feel he's not had one for a while. Just one of those spells where you just be like, every ball's probably going to get a wicket. A lot of fun to watch.
You could tell, especially from that first wicket as well, it was going to be one of those innings, one of those Broad spells as well.
Yeah.
Like, the way it came in, the way the batsman played it, like you sort of don't really know where the ball's gone, but you know where it's hit.
Yeah, 100%. And it just makes you excited as well because two of those, obviously Conway and Latham being left-handers, that kind of angle, Broad round the wicket, Ashes on the horizon, potentially Warner might be playing. Might be talk about that later, but it might not be. But just that hope to be like Warner is playing just so Broad can nick him off and bowl him across the summer again. We'll just play like, yes, please.
I mean, if he is playing, he won't be playing for too long.
No. But it was great. But yeah, Williamson had a bad game. He's had a little bad run of games for a little while, I would say, off my top of my head. But Mitchell got 57. But then this morning it was the Anderson show. Broad had last night, Anderson had this morning or this afternoon if you're in New Zealand, getting 4 for 18, which is just nonsense. I can't remember what the stats were that I sent earlier, but his record, like after he's turned 35, is just, so much better than any other part of his career. And it's like how does a player you just keep getting better and better with a game that's evolving so much that he's just blended into this kind of Bazball vibe as well, that I don't know necessarily you would expect, because both Broad and Anderson before were all about, economy and not wanting to go for boundaries and dry up an end and get a wicket. But since Stokes has come in and being like, no, pitch up, get wickets, it's just really brought them out of their own, which is a lot of fun to see.
I mean, it's almost as if like bowling it, pitching up, and getting wickets will sort of coincide with you not conceding as many runs because you're attacking the batsman.
Yeah.
It does play into the Bazball tactics.
Yeah.
It also plays into like Jimmy and Broad's sort of philosophy of not wanting to go for runs and keeping the batsman under pressure. But it's just a different way of doing it, but it's still
100%.
the same goal.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, they're good enough to get these wickets as well. But yeah, so with Broad, before I move on to Anderson, got a lot of Anderson stuff. But for that broad spell, I think it's testament that, since he has interacted with us on the podcast, he's then had one of his broad spells, averaging just above 10 with the ball. So I think we'll keep an eye on that. We'll do pre-podcast, post-podcast average.
Yeah.
But yeah,
a little hawk at high noon corner every time.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'll keep messaging him if he wants to come on. Friend of the show. We'll see when he replies next.
I mean, it'll be the show to rival tailenders then. Jimmy versus Broad.
Yeah, that would be great. I'll ask if he's down. I'm sure he'll be up for that.
Yeah, definitely.
He's not busy with his England career or his recent child. But yeah, in terms of Anderson and Broad as a duo, they've now got over 1,000 wickets together, which is the most ever for a bowling duo in Test cricket, obviously overtaking Warner McGrath before that. Pretty cute as well that it's in the country where it all started. I don't know if you remember of it at the time. Can you remember this game in 2008? I mean, I do because I'm sad.
I barely remember the highlights.
Well, true. Well, let me take you back to 2008. I think it was March. There was a free Test match series in New Zealand. I think England were, at another crossroads as ever. Hoggard and Harmison played the first Test match, and obviously they were kind of revered in that kind of England setup, from 2005 Ashes, and you feel like, well, Hoggard Harmison have to play, but England got absolutely pumped in that first game, um, and it was basically they needed a red ball reset effectively. So they dropped Harmison and Hoggard, much to the dismay of many people, and then started Anderson and Broad. Broad had only played a couple of games at this point. Anderson's obviously had been around a little bit longer, but to say that these are our two bowlers we're going with for the future was quite left field. Um, but the fact that they've from that moment on, it's just a factor they've not looked back since, which I think is incredible. Like in terms of give an idea of how long that was ago, that was when Tim Salvey made his debut in that series. Um, but yeah, it's quite a nice narrative that's where it started, and then that's where they get this record. Um, whether they're the best ever is another conversation, but I think it goes a long way for the longevity that these are two fast bowlers to get over 1,000 wickets together is no mean feat.
I mean, would you consider them the best bowling partnership of all time? Like, I think
I
statistically, Warren McGrath has like a better wickets per match average,
yeah.
and I think they're probably the only duo
Yeah,
that I would
like it's
have them rival. But
yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? I like because I can't say I've watched more pre 2005, and everyone's always going to have their eras and talk about, but my I it's difficult. Like I think pitches have got best to bat on because games have favoured batters more in recent times. But then has the batting got worse in Test cricket? Um, it's kind of I don't know, it kind of goes on and on, but I just think with Broad and Anderson, they've played across so many different eras of the game. The advent of T20 cricket, different players across all generations. Like they've played against the best. They've played against, you know, Jacques Kallis and Virat Kohli and Kumar Sangakkara and Ricky Ponting. They've played against all these players. Sure, some towards the back end of their career, but also during their hype as well. And then they've been playing against, the current best, like, Kane Williamson and people like that, Steve Smith. And, they've kept on coming back on top. And, last year when they were dropped, which I think, has ended up being probably maybe not the right outcome or why they did it, but it's worked out to be the best thing that could have happened. Because, if they'd gone to West Indies on those horrible docile pitches and not got anything out of it, Broad has said, well, we probably would have retired after that. And it's they came back from that dropping and have just been great ever since. Like Anderson averages 16 with the ball since Stokes is captain, and he's 40 now. And it's like you look at him and you think like he's just going to keep on going on and on. And longevity, the like endurance, the constant adapting of the game. I think I would put them up there as the best pace bowling duo ever. I think it's different with pace and spin, but for the pace duo, for their longevity, endurance, adaptability, all that, I would probably say they would be the best,
yeah,
personally.
yeah. No, I'd agree. I don't think people put the longevity and the constant adaptation to the like changing times of cricket,
Yeah.
to like a high enough standard. And these have done it through so much as well. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and
All
they
the
and they're
captains, all
still
the
going.
coaches, yeah,
We're talking
and still
about
going.
this, and they're
Yeah,
still playing.
yeah, yeah. It's not like they've retired. Yeah, like they're definitely going to play the Ashes. I've got a niggling feeling that Broad will retire after the Ashes. He's got a kid now. He's been doing punditry stuff. Um, he has muted the fact that he probably would have retired after West Indies if he had gone, or if Stokes McCullum hadn't wanted him back, all that kind of stuff. So I
He's
feel like
throwing the
he's
feelers out for joining a certain podcast.
yeah, exactly. So, but I feel with Anderson, like Anderson said, he's not ever had like a time when he wants to retire. Like he said, he'll keep on playing as long as he keeps on performing, and he's not stopping that. Like he's incredibly like fit. He keeps himself fit, going for all of that. You worry that if he gets one bad injury, then that would be it, and you don't want him to go out on an injury. You want him to go out on his terms. And as much as I want him to keep on playing forever and ever, I kind of want England to win the Ashes 5-0, and then they go off on that kind of what of end to finish on, what at the absolute height of their games. But if he wants to keep on going, you can't really argue against him either. Um, the next thing I would say, he's on 682 wickets now, Anderson. So he needs 18 to get 700, and you'd imagine he would get that during the Ashes, which is pretty special.
I mean, but does he then look at like I've done 700, only 90 something to go until
Yeah, yeah. Well, he's only got two ahead of him, isn't he? So Warner's on 708, and then Muralifrin is on 800. So I'd be, he's not going to get to 800. Sad to say.
I mean, he's at least definitely looking to take over Warren.
I think he would overtake
Wait,
Warren if not be it within one or two. But yeah, he would need, that's hypothetically, if he gets another six in the next game, that's 688. And then he needs 12 in six tests over the summer. He's doing that easy.
yeah, he'll do that easily.
Yeah. But yeah, well, I think other than that, that's kind of rounds up everything from the test. I can't remember when the next one's happening. um, but a good game and good to have Test cricket back. Um, next game happens next week, I'd presume. um, and then the next test is not again until Ireland in the summer, and then obviously the Ashes starts. Um, but yeah, good game, good baseball, and obviously again we didn't really talk about Harry Brook, but very good again. Nonsense.
He's all right, isn't he?
He is all right. He is all right. The fact he averages 77 after 8 innings, 300s, 350s, and he looked the best bat as well on the team this test match, which I think is nonsense, but all good. Also, shout out to Ben Duckett. He got 84 in the first innings, probably deserved 100. Again, this team is just gelling together really, really well. And it's exciting to see what happens next. And if they make any changes in the next game, just to have a look at anyone, but we will see. So, have you got some stats, Jamie?
It's like you prepared to say that after we came back into the meeting.
I don't know what you mean.
So, do you think you could name like the top five bowling pairs in test matches? If I were to give you a list of the top 10, do you think you could pick the top five?
The top five. So, I'll give it a go.
This is,
Um, you ready?
yeah, I'm ready. I've sent you a list of 10, which is Anderson, Broad, Murali, Bass, Stark, Lyon, Entini, Callis, Ambrose, Walsh, Warne, McGrath, Wazim, Wakar, Pollock, Callis, Dane, Morkel, Bolt, Selby.
So that's the top 10, but it's
That-
not in order.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so Anderson Broad top,
Correct.
Warner McGrath second.
Yeah.
Let's have a quick look. Murali Vass.
Yeah,
Okay,
they're in three, so you've got one to three.
okay. I feel like just through a number of games, I'm gonna jump to five and say Stark Lion.
Yeah, I've no idea how you've got that. But yeah,
I've seen a number of games because Lion's been out around for ages, and also Stark has as well. So like, yeah, yeah,
only
mad.
73 matches. Like, it is still plenty of matches, but
Yeah, it's like 500 a bit, isn't it? I think they've got, which is
580 to go.
580. Yeah, mad. But yeah, four's tricky because you look at the players on there. You got to try and think about the number of games because would Ambrose and Walsh probably out of those are maybe up there with the best, but then Stain and Mork will have that South African side, which is obviously so good. And they felt like they were around forever. But did they get more than 580? Wazim Waka. Oh, that's also a shout, isn't it? Oh, okay. I'm gonna. Oh, there's also Pollock and Callis as well. This is a good list of players. I might go. This is probably gonna be wrong. I'm gonna go Wazim and Waka.
It is wrong.
Yeah, thought it might be. Is it Ambrose and Walsh?
It is.
Okay, cool.
Wazim Waka is six, though.
That is. Oh, I've got I got the top six then.
I mean, you were going for the top five and you got it wrong, so I wouldn't.
Yeah, I got 4 out of 5 though. I'll take that.
Yeah. Then we go Pollock, Callis, seven, Bolt,
Yeah,
Selby, eight,
yeah,
and Heaney, Callis, nine, Stain,
yeah.
Morkel, 10.
Staying local 10 is strange to me.
Only
I can't.
62 matches together,
Yeah,
522 wickets.
that's I just would expect them to be right up and about there.
Which, to
By
be
me.
fair, wickets per match.
For matches,
I
yeah.
I think that's better than Anderson and Broad, to be fair.
Yeah, like if you imagine how many, if they had played as many games as Anson and Broad, God knows how many they would have got. Just same as always struggle with injuries. That's just the crap thing about it. Just you could he could get similar swing to Anderson, but just bowl at 90, which is ridiculous. But
And
yeah,
it's
that
a bit mad and a bit weird that Callis is on there twice.
I know, yeah,
Like, surely you can just put Callis with ex bowler during
yeah,
Southampton
I know.
and you probably
You
get,
got a duo,
yeah.
but Callis is absolutely mental, one of the best. I don't, even though he wasn't the best, I just thought he's never talked about him enough. But good quiz, I enjoyed that stat quiz.
Yeah.
Yeah, fun. I'll try and do one for next time if I remember. Um, um, shall we move on to another test match that's happening or a test series?
Yeah, why not? We're here now.
India and Australia are playing, and India have already retained the the trophy, the Border Gascar trophies. They've already done the job. Australia uh, are falling apart. Um, I don't know if you've seen much of it, but the first test they got completely rolled over. They got like 150-ish in the first innings of the game. Then India got 400 odd. I'm gonna say this is all guessing, but then in Australia out for like 80 odd. Um, and then the game just gone. Australia actually put up quite a really decent fight. So they got 263, and then India are out for 262. So Australia had a lead of one, and they were doing really well. They were about, I think, 65 for two.
Okay.
Um, and then they were 113 all out. And then India go on to win by 6 wickets. Pujara in his 100th game, scoring winning runs, and Kohli getting over 25,000 international runs. Only Sachin, Sangakkara, Ponting, Jayawardene, and Kallis ahead of him. But yeah, Australia today lost 9 for 48. Jadeja got 7. At one stage, they were 95 for 3 before slipping to 95 for 7. It was nonsense. And what I love about it most is that the Australian media before this series, because Australia beat a crap West Indies team at home and an all over the place South African team at home, they were like, "Oh, Australia, the best team in the world. They're going to do this, no problem." Um, and they're all predicting Australia going to win 2-1 or whatever, all that kind of stuff. None of them have obviously watched an India series, in any recent times. They just live in their own silly Australian bubble and then get this harsh reality being like, oh, this team is a disgrace. It's like, not really, just India are very good.
I mean, I know Australian fans can be a bit deluded, but
Yeah.
who the hell is saying they're the best team in the world? Are they not watching basketball?
Well, yeah, exactly. I think they're going to get a harsh. This is I come back right, bite me in the bum, but they're going to get a harsh wake up call. I think over these games, I think they're going to find it difficult to win a game over their next 10 tests, including the two they've just played. Because after these two, they've got two more in India. They've got, I'm pretty sure they're in the World Test Championship final already. Probably going to play against India. And then they've got the 5 tests at home against England. And at home, even when England aren't great in 2019, they couldn't beat that England team then. Now they're going to play against an England team at the top of their game. So I think it's going to be tricky for them. But it's a mess. It really is a mess. Like they didn't play Travis Head in the first test match, even though he was their best player in the summer by a country mile. Um, and they picked another they picked another left-hander instead because they thought that Travis Head doesn't play spin well. But sure, you just give him the chance to prove you're wrong if he's got like an average of 100 at home. I just didn't understand.
I mean, it would kind of make sense if he was like a higher order batsman or one of your openers,
Yeah.
but like coming in like 5, 6, wherever usually,
Hmm.
I'm seeing in the second innings he opened
Yeah.
for some reason because I'm not seeing
Well,
Warner in there. Well,
Warner,
I'm sure
yeah,
we'll come to
Warner,
that.
yeah.
But yeah, it's weird why they wouldn't select one of their best players or
I know.
most informed players
Yeah.
just because he's a bit off with spin.
Yeah. But then, like, to also the argument that it's also stupid because they also brought in a Ravi Ashwin imitating bowler for their nets before all the series, which is
Is
like,
that what they're calling line now?
yeah, maybe, but just that some Indian player, I don't even know who played professional cricket, but just someone who bowls a bit like Ashwin brought in, just that's already telling India that okay, we're already intimidated, um, and and if they're worried about left-handers, I'd understand if they didn't play Travis Head in order to play a right-hander. But they brought in Matt Renshaw, who's an opener, to bat five, and he got a first ball duck or a duck anyway. And it's like, well, that went well. But that's the first test. But yeah, this was just silly. I thought, oh, we got a game on here, and then I woke up this morning and like, oh, it's over.
I mean, India finished
Yeah,
on 118 as well.
yeah.
So they must have finished either with a they must have finished with a six. Like
I think they got a boundary. I must have, it was a boundary or something. It hit a four. They must have been. I don't know.
like they if they were on 113, they'd have had to hit five to get to
They were on
118. So
one.
they must
They
have
were
got
on
one.
114, and then hit a four. That was the
That
final
makes
bit.
sense. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, Pajara got those winning runs. But yeah, just silly. I think this Australian team is going to unravel very, very quickly. They're very good at home, but like Marnus has not got a Test century outside of Australia. Smith has had a bad run of games. He was okay-ish at home, but again at home. Um, I think they just struggle away from Australia. They've brought in two new spinners for this series. Todd Murphy did get seven in the last test, but Ashton Agar has said that he doesn't feel ready to bowl, whatever that means. So he's not selectable. Um, if you take away David Warner getting a double hundred at the MCG in the summer on a big flat road where he got dropped a couple of times, then he's not done anything in like a year. He was out with concussion of this game halfway through and has also got a fracture, I think. So that's asking questions if he's going to be around much longer as a test player because I don't. He's on his last legs anyway. Like, is he going to really try to go through that and be fit for the Ashes? Is he going to continue after that? Is he good enough to be in the Ashes? Um, so I think it could go quite pear shaped quite quickly for Australia. I mean, you still got Kawaja there, Smith, Cummins. They're still a very good team, but I think they're starting to unravel, which is fun.
Yeah, I mean, you started this by saying like talking about Travis Head not playing the first Test match
Mm.
because of the spin. Like, has that ever occurred to them to not play Warner in England because of fraud?
Yeah,
It,
yeah,
it just never seems to have occurred to them to like
yeah.
adapt properly to the team they're playing, not just get some bloke off the street that bowls a bit like when they're playing.
Oh, it's so silly. So I think they're gonna struggle. But it's just it's just fun. It's just fun. It's nice to see someone else just completely fall apart and it's not England. So it brought back it. I can imagine what it would have been from an Australian perspective when England capitulated in India. So it's nice, having a good time. Uh but yeah, that's fun. So I look forward to seeing India win that 4-0. Um Other than that, we've got the T20 World Cup going on in the women's game. England are doing very well. They won three from three. Did beat a strong India side yesterday, which is good to see. Heather Knight is fit for this campaign, which makes a huge difference, I think. But yeah, Sophie Eccleston's having a great one. Sophie Dunkett, top of the order, great. Just all round good team. England. They look a bit more round team. I think last year they got to the final of that 50 over World Cup, but I think just something didn't feel quite clicked, but they're clicking together at the moment. Um, but I just feel there's this finality because lo and behold, Australia women have played four games and won four easily. They've not been tested once. They lost to Ireland in their warm-up game, which is bizarre. But I just don't. I really want to get invested. It's difficult when there's so much cricket, but I just watch it and I'm like, Australia just going to win it.
I mean, maybe that game against Ireland was a sign. Maybe they'll crumble to someone from the British Isles.
And it could be England. I think it's looking like it will probably be an England Australia final again. Um, but we'll see. But yeah, they're just too good. I think they're really up there as one of the greatest sporting teams currently in the world. Like they're just unbeatable. It's a bit like India playing at home in the men's team. Like there's just some teams you can't do anything. Um,
They are
but yeah,
a reverse of the current state of the men's side.
yeah. I think yeah. But it's just they've just been so good for so long, and it's just nonsense. I can't remember the last time they did badly. It's just what they've got is just mental. But yeah, we'll keep an eye on it when it gets towards the knockout stages. But I think it'd be hard pressed not to see an England and um Australia final there. But it's been taking place in South Africa, which I love watching cricket in South Africa. So buzzing to see how that continues. Um, But yeah, I think other than that, Pakistan Super League is going on, but I've not watched any of that surprisingly. Um, and not long to a county championship, all that kind of stuff. But I think that's mostly the cricket news. Um, Apologies if I've forgotten everything, but anything, but there is it's there's a lot. Have you got any cricket stuff you want to chat about, or is that our cricket chat over for our cricket podcast?
Oh, we've been talking cricket.
Huh,
I haven't noticed.
no,
No, I don't even like cricket, to be honest.
yeah, rubbish. It would be more
Uh,
likely to do something like that, but something not cricket.
yeah, I just like baseball, to be honest. That's all it is.
Yeah, always. So is there a just not cricket this week, Jamie? That's what the listeners are asking.
Not really. I just want to
Oh.
say that Marcus Rashford's really good. He's so good.
Yeah, I've not really been paying much heed or attention, but like the turnaround for Manchester United has been silly, but it's been great. Someone like Rashford to be back in form and back to his best is that's what you want to see.
I mean, I think you're saying turnaround as in like since the World Cup, like since our second game, it's been so much better.
Hmm.
But like since the World Cup specifically, which Rashford was pretty decent in,
Yeah.
and still not picked by Gareth
Hmm.
Southgate. That's a different not cricket for when I tear
Yeah.
into that fraud.
Yeah.
I think he's got like 14 goals in 16 games or something ridiculous since the World Cup, which is
Yeah.
the most of anyone in the top five leagues in Europe.
Hmm. Yeah.
Like more than Benzema, more than Haaland, more than
Hmm.
Mbappe. He's just on a fucking tear, and I love it. Like,
It's just great to watch. Yeah.
oh, so fun.
Like yeah, like whenever I check in the scores, like it's always like Rashford scored at this time. It's like the same way like you look when Harry Brooks batting, you just expect 50 to be there. Like just expect, yeah, it's gonna be Rashford who scored it, isn't it? Um, but it's great. Do you reckon they will can put in a title charge, or are you just gonna be happy with a top four?
I'm just happy with how things are going at the
Hmm.
minute. Like, as soon as I look at if we can win the title, like we're only, I think, 5, 6 points off Arsenal.
Yeah,
So technically we are,
yeah,
but I don't want to say we are.
because it will jinx it.
Exactly. Like no one's looking at United from an Arsenal or City perspective. We just it just feels like we're the team in third doing our own thing at the minute.
And that's the best place to be, I think, because then
Honest,
you can then put in a surge later on and just quietly go about your business, and then suddenly you're thereabouts. That's what you want.
I mean, I think we'll finish above one of those two teams.
Hmm.
I think we're
Yeah,
finishing second, but like,
yeah,
Arsenal have had a bit of a wobble lately, so I wouldn't be surprised if we finish ahead of Arsenal after they finish
hmm,
top for most of the season.
yeah.
Which,
I wouldn't be
by the
shocked
way,
by that at all.
I would fucking love it if they finish fourth as well. That would be the funniest thing.
Who's your top four prediction?
I think it will stay as it is. Now, I don't think Spurs, despite being fifth, I think they've been really poor this season. Uh, I
They're
think
playing now, aren't they? What's the scores on the doors now? Let's have a live sporting update, which will mean nothing by the time you listen to this.
because it won't be live anymore. It'll be all
They are currently 2-0 up against West Ham,
who
5 minutes to
are
go.
like West Ham are third from bottom, so
Yeah, which is good. But you
they
got
should be beating.
Tottenham. Just problem with like here we go, football chat, just not football. I don't think I'd be here. But Tottenham are just like the most frustrating team because you beat Man City and then you somehow lose 4-1 against Leicester. Um, like if the games that you expect Tottenham to win, they would be up there in similar point territory as Man United. That's what the frustrating thing is. Like they're going to lose those odd games, but it's just I don't really know what's going on. It just feels odd. I don't get it. Like they should be winning the kind of games against Leicester because Leicester aren't that great. But I can't say I know too much about football, but they are from my family perspective. I guess I have that invested Tottenham interest.
I mean, I think as soon as you start saying they should be in this position, if they beat the teams they should be beating,
Hmm.
I think that's part of the allure of football is that anyone can beat
Yeah,
anyone.
on the day anyone could beat anyone. Yeah.
I think like it's very different to say this other stupid sport, cricket, or like I think basically any other thought. Like if
Yeah,
one tennis player plays better than the other one, they all win. If
yeah,
one football team plays really badly, they
yeah,
can still end up winning somehow.
yeah, yeah.
I think Spurs have been a weird case this season. I think Conte's having he's just had a gallbladder surgery, I think,
Mm.
so he's
So he's
not.
not there at the moment. Yeah, he's
Yeah,
taken breakaway.
but I think he's in his like last sort of period of his tenure at the club. I
Mm.
think that has sort of held the players back a bit. Son
Yeah,
hasn't performed as well this season.
but he didn't start today, I don't think. But
No,
looking at it in live updates, he came on and scored, which probably better if you just bring him on as a super sub for
I mean
now.
he's still their one of their best players. I
For sure,
like it's just weird. They're a weird
they are.
team.
That is
I
summed them
think
up. Yeah,
they're over. I they are higher than what their performances have showed.
that's also the flip side. That they're currently with the win today. They are fourth, and they are still currently in the FA Cup and still currently in the Champions League. So hypothetically, they could still. It won't happen. They could still end the season in the top four. They could end the top four. That probably could happen, but they're still in the shout of being in two trophy competitions. And when you look at it like that, you'd be like, oh, they're doing all right. They're currently top four and they're still in two competitions. But then it's also on the flip side, like this has just been a weird season where they feel like they've not been good. They're just odd. I don't really understand. That's why I'm happy talking about cricket because I don't I don't get it.
I mean, I haven't
Oh
watched enough Spurs to like
yeah,
talk about their tactics, but like Conte
mm,
specific, like 5-3-2
yeah,
formation or 5-3.
mm,
I don't know. He played a weird sort of double 10 system at Chelsea. I think he's trying to employ that sort of
yeah,
system with Son and someone like Richarlison
yeah.
just behind Kane. I just don't think it necessarily
Suits
works
Tottenham. Yeah,
at Spurs, whereas it should work at a team like Chelsea, who are mid-table.
yeah. 10.
And
Oh gosh.
honestly, we could just do a whole pod in itself on Chelsea.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's the thing. It could be worse. Tottenham could be Chelsea at this point. So
I mean, like Fulham and Brighton are ahead of both Liverpool and
yeah,
Chelsea.
yeah,
Chelsea are the worst team in West London out of three clubs.
yeah.
It honestly, been a pretty decent season.
I mean, because I don't watch a lot of football. Like I'll tune in and find out how Tottenham are doing as a casual. Um, but this is surely the kind of season that you want, where it's kind of up for grabs for anyone. Someone like Arsenal, I'd get burnt at the stake for saying this, but surely it's a bit more interesting when you've got a team you not necessarily expect at the top, and then it's a bit more of a who's going to finish there rather than like just going in and be like, oh, it's going to be Man City, it's going to be Liverpool, it's going to be blah blah blah. It's more interesting when it could be anyone at any time. Um, but yeah, that's my perspective.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like as a neutral, it's much more exciting to have like the competition coming from a
Up for
different.
grabs, whatever. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Whereas, in Liga or in the Bundesliga, when you've got PSG or
hmm
Bayern winning it
yeah,
every year, like
yeah,
in France, you'll have the occasional season where, God, who won it? Lille won it the other season,
mm,
I think. Like you'll have that occasionally. You don't get that in Germany. In Spain, it's one of Barca or Real, and sometimes Atletico
yeah,
come from nowhere. In Italy, it's been a bit like mixed recently, especially with Juve having weird financial troubles like Inter and AC. Milan have both won it recently. Napoli are like 15 points clear. So
blimey.
that's a fun league to be around at the minute, especially with Juve's 15 points deduction.
Yeah,
But like in terms of the Premier League, it's a batshit
anyone's game. Yeah,
season. I don't think many people would have had Southampton or West Ham down bottom three.
yeah,
I think some people were saying Southampton were in a bit of trouble, but I wasn't necessarily expecting them. Especially with Hasenhüttl, but I don't watch enough Southampton.
no, I can't. Yeah, I can't say I'm an avid
Or,
Southampton fan.
but like this season, they've been fucking dreadful. It's just yeah, it
Yeah,
is just nice to see like Fulham in 6 and
Yeah, and
Brighton 7.
Brighton just seem to get better all the time as well. Like even if when they lose their main manager and they lose most of their players, that they're still up and about there.
Yeah,
It's
like
yeah.
I felt like I was the only person saying that Graham Potter shouldn't have left Brighton for Chelsea, and then
But
he goes to
like when
Chelsea.
you're building something so good at Brighton, and then you're like, nah, okay, I'll go to this, falling apart place.
Yeah, well, I think the thing is now, like Brighton are playing even better. They've
Yeah.
got they've got De Zerbi in, and he's like had like Matoma to help flourish, and he's got the best player in the world, Danny Welbeck, to rely upon. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's just strange how their manager has gone to a club with so much riches and have spunked their
Yeah.
money on absolutely anyone they can think of,
It's mad, isn't it? That's just silly.
while his
Yeah.
old club has just kept on going and is better than them.
Which is great. I love to
Yeah,
see it.
it's honestly, it's like watching Australia fall apart. I really enjoy it.
Just so deserved, isn't it? Oh yeah, but yeah, that's summing all up. Because Rashford is good.
Yeah, I didn't come into this with a coherent, not cricket. I just wanted to say that Rash was good, and it turned into football
That
talk.
little segment. There we go.
Yeah,
Who would have expected that? Not me.
for me.
No. Well, that sums it up for this week then, I think. Thank you as per if you've got this far. But yeah, thanks for listening. We'll be back soon. We're having a net next week, aren't we, Jamie?
We are.
Yeah, for our new team. So we'll keep you updated on that if you're interested. Um, but yeah, other than that, we'll be back soon with more cricket. And as usual, Jamie is going to sign us out with
Something relevant because Matt didn't do the socials plug. It's just not cricket. Just not cricket pod it. Instagram, Twitter, TikTok for some reason. We'll be on YouTube this week. We just won't be a video thing. It'll be like pictures and shit. Uh,
yeah, we like pictures. That's
uh,
just not cricket pod.
yeah, you can go now.
Yeah,
Stop
okay.
listening.
See you later.
Stop listening.
Ah.